Haruka and Kei were the kind of baseball players that made other kids quit the sport and cry into their gloves. These two weren't just good, they were fire and ice, peanut butter and explosions. Together, they crushed every team in the Nationals like it was just another Tuesday. Some of the geniuses they beat actually gave up baseball for good. Pathetic. Haruka felt a little bad for them, but Kei told him not to bother. Forget the weaklings. Focus on the game. One day, Haruka, being the overly dramatic fruit boy that he is, showed up with a bag of fruit to visit his buddy Kei. He was ready for a nice reunion. Meanwhile, Yamada, one of the kids that got destroyed by Haruka and Kei at Nationals, was out here mourning his baseball career like it was a lost dog. He used to be a prodigy, back when his team still believed in miracles. After getting humbled like a street dog at Nationals, he gave up the game, the dream, and probably his self-respect. He picked a boring school with no baseball club and planned to blend in like a background character in a drama. Todu's bad fate had other plans, because on his first day of school, guess who he ran into? The very nightmares who ruined his life, Haruka and amnesia boy Kei. Kei walked up to Yamada like a friendly puppy, calling him a friend and smiling like he just learned what emotions were. This was not the cold, calculating catcher Yamada remembered. This new Kei was a walking mess. He looked like Kei, but talked like he just woke up from a 10-year nap. Haruka showed up to Todo and confirmed, yep, this idiot really was Kei. Haruka was ready to talk, but Kei dropped the bomb. He didn't even remember baseball. Like, at all. Not the game, not the rules, not even the part where they won everything. Yamada's brain almost short-circuited. Kei wasn't just amnesiac, he was a whole new man. Haruka laughed it off and said Kei always hated baseball anyway. But because Haruka wanted to play, Kei pushed through. Middle school club? Brutal. Kei stuck it out just for him. Then one day, boom, the guy just reset like a broken router. Still, somehow, Yamada ended up becoming friends with them. It made no sense, but this story doesn't either, so we move. Turns out, Kei picked this school because it was 5 minutes from his house. Baseball? Never heard of it. This dude was living the soft life now, eating snacks and forgetting legacies. But destiny wasn't done playing games. Out of nowhere, the school started a new baseball club. Haruka joined instantly and dragged Yamada along. Yamada tried to say no, but Haruka's skills made it illegal to refuse. The guy was basically baseball royalty. Kei, being the soft-boiled egg that he is, laughed nervously and acted like Haruka was giving him Todo much credit. Some senior idiots pulled up trying to act tough. They challenged Haruka to a little baseball showdown. Haruka agreed to pitch, but since Kei was still out of the game, Yamada had to catch. Poor guy. As soon as he got into position, he regretted every life choice that brought him there. Haruka threw a soft pitch to match Yamada's very average skills. And by soft, I mean grandpa speed. The seniors laughed like they just won the lottery. Even the juniors started whispering. This wasn't the Haruka they knew. Something was fishy. Yamada realized Haruka was holding back because of him. Man got guilty real quick and told Haruka to let loose. Kei, watching from the side, noticed Yamada's hands were shaking like he was fighting ghosts. Then it happened. Kei walked up and got into catcher position. Haruka's face changed. He went full beast mode. Yamada could tell this was finals level Haruka. No mercy, no breaks. The seniors? They sensed the shift. Suddenly, this didn't feel like a casual game. It felt like a death sentence. Yamada finally understood. Haruka came to this school just for Kei. He gave up a golden future because no one else could catch for him. That's how deep the bond ran. Dumb, dramatic, and weirdly beautiful. Yamada was amazed. Kei caught the ball like it was nothing. For someone with amnesia, he sure moved like a pro. Haruka said this was the first time since the memory wipe that Kei caught his pitch, and it was all thanks to Yamada. That's right. The former crybaby finally did something useful. Kei, of course, ruined the moment by whining that his hands hurt and that he was never playing baseball again. Kei used to be a legend, a baseball treasure. Now, he was acting like a confused toddler with a memory card yanked out of his brain, all because of some little case of amnesia. The same guy who once broke scoreboards now couldn't even remember how to hold a bat. He was threatening to quit baseball and friendships like it was a TikTok trend. And yet, somehow, people still cared. Yamada, poor guy, watched all this nonsense and felt sad. He wasn't even a genius like Kei, but even he knew this kind of talent shouldn't be wasted. Haruka, being the weirdo that he is, suddenly pulled out his brother's password-locked device. And no, it wasn't baseball training videos. It was full of spicy content. But apparently, Haruka barely watched those. Guy spent his life in training mode. He didn't have time for dirty DVDs when there were pitches to perfect. The seniors who had been causing trouble had finally disappeared, so the field was empty again. Perfect timing. Kei, still acting like an overgrown child, didn't want to practice until he saw the batting gloves. They looked cool, that's all it took. He wanted to try just because the gloves were shiny. Genius turned idiot. Haruka took one swing and Yamada immediately felt like a clumsy side character in a sports anime. No matter how hard he trained, puked, or cried, he was never going to reach Haruka's level. That's when Kei started to notice Todo. The skill gap was huge. This man Haruka was built different. Kei picked up the bat and swung it. And wow, it was bad. Embarrassing. It looked like a toddler trying to chop wood. Haruka looked at him and casually pointed out that Kei was batting left-handed. No wonder it was a disaster. Haruka didn't even think it mattered. He said catching was more important anyway. Yamada, already tired of babysitting, realized that Kei wouldn't fall back in love with baseball unless he actually had fun with it first. No one plays a game they suck at unless there's joy in the chaos. After school, two random students walking home heard the sounds of baseball. Curious, they wandered over and saw the impossible. Kei and Haruka, right there, on a no-name school field. They rubbed their eyes like they were hallucinating. Maybe they were sleepwalking. Kei, still in his happy-go-lucky clown mode, invited them to join in. Both said no without thinking, but Yamada recognized them. Chihaya and Todo, two baseball monsters from different youth teams. That's when Kei pulled out Haruka's brother's nasty DVD again.
Nice.
Todo smashed it like it was a cursed object. Haruka felt the shift. Trouble was brewing. Todo said he had broken his own TV because he didn't want to see Haruka and Kei's matches anymore. Man was traumatized. Kei, being the walking potato he is now, had no idea what was happening. He looked like someone who got dragged into a crime scene without a clue. Chihaya agreed. They'd both been destroyed mentally by those two on the field. Kei was drenched in sweat, panicking silently. Yamada whispered to him that it's normal for legends to be hated. Told him to fake some memories and play along, but Kei couldn't lie if his life depended on it. He just stood there like a deer in baseball headlights. Suspicion was growing. Chihaya and Todo were not buying his nonsense. At last, Kei gave up and confessed. He had amnesia. Honest, raw, and terrified of being disliked. For once, the clown was real. And somehow, Yamada decided that was the perfect moment to invite Chihaya and Todo to join the baseball club. He was thinking big now. This was the perfect setup to revive a monster team, but he didn't dare say the word Koshien out loud. Chihaya and Todo, still bitter, said playing baseball would be like putting a curse on themselves. They had once been the strongest in their teams, only to be crushed by Haruka and Kei like bugs under a cleat. They came to this school because they gave up on baseball. But Yamada noticed something funny. The way they carried their backpacks. Careful, shoulder protecting. Old habits don't die. Haruka finally stepped in, sharp, rude, honest. Said he didn't even remember beating them. He asked if they really wanted to walk away from the game like losers. That hit a nerve. Suddenly, they were down to play. Another scrimmage began. Yamada caught for Haruka again. The pressure was real. Haruka's pitch speed made your eyes water. Still, Yamada acted cool. Kei, feeling left out or maybe just bored, decided he wanted to catch Todo. He put on the gear and looked like he hated every second of it. But somehow, he made everyone laugh. The game started fast. Yamada helped Kei from behind, guiding him through it. And guess what? Even with no memories, Kei's body moved like a pro. Reflexes sharp, instincts strong, the body always remembers. On the side, Chihaya was watching closely. He saw Todo's posture change after the third pitch. Chihaya got hyped, threw off his jacket, started warming up. That spark was coming back. Haruka kept firing pitches. Yamada was grinning. This was it. This was baseball. Chihaya was once a god-tier second baseman, known for speed and control. Haruka was itching to go head-to-head with him. Chihaya and Todo said they were busy, but no one believed them. Kei, still being a clown, said catching was boring, but hanging with this group was fun. Yamada tried again to recruit them. Haruka beat him to it. He said he remembered their names. That tiny gesture shook something inside Chihaya. His smile was breaking through. Hard to hide now. Even though they refused to officially join, Yamada could feel it. Deep down, they were already part of the team. Meanwhile, one of the poor souls who got destroyed by Ryuka and Kei found out what school they were hiding in. The next day, Todo walked into class and saw Chihaya sitting right next to him. Of course, both of them were thinking the same thing. Ryuka, Kei, and Yamada were standing there like lost puppies. Without Yamada, this group would fall apart instantly. Yamada said they weren't there to beg anyone. They just came to hang out because Kei was scared of being disliked. Honestly, Kei was turning into a full-time drama queen thanks to his amnesia. To make things worse, he invited the two boys to his house. Of course they refused, but Ryuka wasn't done yet. He pulled out a mysterious disc from his bag. Not just any disc though. This was from his brother's top-secret DVD collection. The kind of thing no high school boy could resist. The disc got them. Kei said no one was home, but surprise, surprise. When he opened the door, his mom was right there waiting. The panic on Kei's face was priceless. He turned into a squirrel that just saw a hawk. Kei's mom looked sweet, but the moment she opened her mouth, Kei lost all his dignity. No wonder he's such a confused mess. Half of him is just his mom's bad luck in human form. Then it got worse. Chihaya found a glove hidden under Kei's bed. So much for quitting baseball. Kei got defensive real quick. He said just because you don't throw something away doesn't mean you love it. The others obviously hadn't thrown away their gear either. A few more arguments flew around. Then Ryuka brought out 3 baseball club forms like some kind of salesman. Somehow they all filled them out. Later that night, Todo and Chihaya went home and pulled out their old gear. They looked embarrassed, like kids sneaking snacks after dinner. The next day, Ryuka tried to get Kei to practice. Kei said he wasn't falling for the DVD trick again, but Ryuka came back with a new one. The cover was Todo strong. Even Yamada had no words. Chihaya and Todo were already out there practicing like they never quit. Their moves were clean, sharp, and full of regret. Meanwhile, Kei was being useless. He kept missing catches even though he used to be perfect. Ryuka got annoyed and told him to focus. That's when 2 seniors ran over yelling. They had just received a challenge from TKU High School. Everyone froze. TKU wasn't a joke. Later, they arrived at TKU. The place looked like a professional stadium. Kei looked around and asked if this school was strong. Ryuka, being Ryuka, said he was stronger. Yamada knew this would trigger something, and right on cue, Chihaya and Todo were both fuming. They had been offered A-rank recommendations from TKU before, and now Ryuka was out here acting like the king of baseball. Ryuka then casually dropped a bomb. He and Kei got S-rank recommendations from TKU. S-rank. That's like being royalty in the baseball world. Meanwhile, the actual TKU team looked down on them. Their faces said it all. Who are these nobodies? Yamada had enough. He shouted back that without him, this team was done. Then Ryuka stood up. Kei followed. Todo followed Todo. The drama was building. At the field, a TKU player came over acting like he owned the place. His name was Kokuto. This guy had it all. Looks, brains, muscles, and a killer swing. He was already the 4th batter, and he wasn't even a senior. Todo and Chihaya took one look at him and whispered, "Yep, they probably beat him in the past and forgot all about it." Kokuto looked like he got dumped on prom night. He said he'd make sure they never forget his name again. Elsewhere, the TKU coach and advisor were rushing to the field. They just found out the truth. They didn't just miss out on Ryuka and Kei, but also on Chihaya and Todo. All 4 were in the same small unknown school now. The coach almost passed out from the pain. He wished he could go back in time and steal all 4 of them with a shovel. As warm-ups ended, Yamada started to see the big problem. Their team, other than the 4 stars, was basically just cardboard cutouts. TKU didn't take them seriously at all. Then Kei got annoyed because someone made fun of Ryuka. He made a small hand signal, and the next pitch from Ryuka nearly broke sound barriers. Nobody understood what happened, except Kokuto. He grinned like he finally found a challenge. The TKU coach nearly fainted. He had lost the best team ever. His top recruits slipped right through his fingers. Todo was going wild on the field like a baseball demon. The other team looked like they were about to cry. They clearly thought this match would be easy, and now they were getting crushed by kids from a school nobody even heard of. Kei, who still acted like a confused duck, walked up to Todo and asked how he played like that. But Todo wasn't a thinker. He was a machine. He just did it. No explanations, no logic, just raw talent. The coach watching all this was so jealous you could hear it in his heavy breathing. Then it was Chihaya's turn. Finally, Kei tried to cheer him on while Ryuka sat there fuming because the spotlight wasn't on him anymore. Meanwhile, one of the enemy players saw this as his big moment and tried to show off. Todo bad for him, Chihaya didn't care. His playstyle was calm, slow, and perfectly annoying. He didn't waste energy. He just made the other team mad on purpose. He read their moves like an old veteran and made their heads explode with frustration. Yamada could tell this was real trouble for the other side. Only a few people could mess with minds and play good baseball at the same time. Chihaya even figured out the opponent's pitch rhythm and used it to mess them up more. Yamada just stood there blinking, wondering what happened to this once great catcher. It was awkward. Kei walked back to the bench like a sad penguin and admitted that batting was hard. He even complimented Chihaya and Todo, saying they should consider transferring to TKU. Yamada nearly had a heart attack from the shock. Did this clown really just suggest his teammates switch schools in the middle of a match? Chihaya and Todo said no, but it was clear their brains were already halfway packed. Kei tried to act friendly and said they'd still be friends no matter what, and he'd keep texting them every day like some clingy ex. They only had the upper hand because Ryuka was ridiculously good, and Ryuka didn't even feel pressure. Ryuka came back to pitch some more. He and Todo started a mini contest to see who could throw more balls. At least someone was having fun. When it was Kei's turn to catch again, a senior smirked at him like he was already done for. Yamada thought if they could just stop TKU's fourth batter, the win was in the bag. But then the fourth batter stepped up. It was Kokuto. Kokuto looked like a model. He still felt sad that Kei and the others forgot who he was. So he made a decision. He was going to crush this game. Kokuto wasn't having it. He treated baseball like a sacred temple and thought only legends like Ryuka and the old Kei deserved to be on that field. After being destroyed in middle school, Kokuto had told Kei he'd catch up and meet him at Koshien one day. Kei, the human goldfish, probably forgot, but Ryuka didn't. He actually supported Kei deep down, which led to some awkward standoff with Kokuto. But then Kokuto caught Ryuka's pitch, clean. Ryuka had to calm down and focus. Then he gave Kei a signal using just his eyes. Kei, to his credit, understood and moved, but something still felt off. The coach yelled at Kokuto but secretly wanted to give him a trophy. Ryuka stayed strong, but Kei, he was falling apart. The coach started to suspect it wasn't Kei's body that was the problem. It was his scrambled egg brain. Kei missed another ball, then another. He was so lost, even the TKU bench started whispering about how bad he was. They called him useless. And they weren't wrong. Ryuka's face said it all. He couldn't believe his best partner was now the weakest link. Kei wondered if moving earlier would have helped, but he kept missing the ball and getting roasted by the other team. Just when the trash talk reached peak level, Ryuka launched a monster pitch. The sound alone made everyone freeze. Yamada exhaled loudly. They still had the lead. But Ryuka's pitch getting hit earlier showed things were slipping. Kei wanted to catch the next one. He remembered practicing. He thought he could do it. The coach, looking desperate, told the team to try a bunt. Kei had never seen this weird position before. His view was blocked. He couldn't see a thing. Next thing you know, bam. Ryuka's pitch hit him straight in the face, right in the head, a full-speed cannonball. After that, he flinched at every pitch. Couldn't even move. The coach noticed and was ready to pull him out. Everyone agreed. Kei was now the team's anchor. He signaled that he still wanted to catch. But Ryuka saw his face and refused. He slowed down his throws. Everyone else assumed Kei was just scared, useless, done. The team fell apart mentally. Everyone knew they were heading toward a brutal defeat, but it still tasted bitter. Even victory wouldn't feel right if this was how they won. After the match, Kokuto said their skills had dropped. No surprise. Their training was a joke. Apologizing didn't help. The game was done. Chihaya also said it wasn't Kei's fault. Then they looked over at TKU's practice. Strict, clean, disciplined. Two seniors from their side whispered that being this serious about baseball was ridiculous. But deep down, everyone knew Kei had work to do. Chihaya told Kei straight up that no one was going to baby him, and honestly, good. He needed that. Kei looked around like a lost goat and turned to Ryuka. Big mistake. Ryuka wasn't in the mood. Instead, he smacked him with a cold truth. Catch the ball next time, clown. Then he gave him a lecture that stung harder than the pitch that hit his face. But Kei, the king of overreaction, didn't shut down. He started arguing with Ryuka like a toddler refusing to eat vegetables. Then he dragged Yamada away with him like a dramatic movie exit. Meanwhile, Todo asked Chihaya if he was really thinking about transferring. With his skills, he'd probably be a starter at TKU before his senior year. Chihaya shot back with his own sass, basically saying Todo was just as guilty. They were both tempted, but then Todo's stomach took over. He got hungry and suggested they go to the field to settle it with a challenge. Whoever hit fewer balls had to treat the winner. When they reached the field, they heard Kei's voice. That disaster of a catcher was already there, trying to train. Yamada was helping him, and for once, Kei looked serious. From what he was saying, it was clear. He really wanted to win the next game. He wanted to send Todo and Chihaya to TKU as winners, not as runners-up. Todo and Chihaya stayed quiet. Losing that game wasn't the end of the world, but leaving now would feel like running away, especially from Kei and Ryuka, who were a package deal. So they stepped onto the infield with big grins and said they'd practice together, meaning they weren't going anywhere. They even threw in a fake excuse about disliking Kokuto's weird energy. Kokuto looked like he was going to scream. Yamada got emotional like he was watching a soap opera. He couldn't believe they were staying. Ryuka almost cried, Todo, not that he'd admit it. That duo was pure chaos. Ryuka blamed everything on Kei, saying his catching was trash. Said his pitching looked like something a toddler flushed down the toilet. Kei, knowing full well his memory loss turned him into a walking error, dragged everyone to a baseball study session. He wanted to understand the rules, get smart again, and win Ryuka's respect. But this man, this absolute genius, fell asleep in 5 minutes. Todo sighed and explained that pitchers, especially legends like Ryuka, are always stubborn. Kei admitted he didn't want to catch anymore. He said it was Todo painful, and maybe he should just move to the outfield and become a background extra. Chihaya and the others laughed like he just said he wanted to be a tree, so they pulled out a rule book and beat him with facts. Every position in baseball is hard. First base requires lightning-fast reflexes. Outfield, you need a rocket arm. No position is easy. Eventually, Kei gave up and crawled back to catching, his only semi-useful skill. They suited up for special training, but they had a problem. No catcher. Todo suggested calling Ryuka, but Kei remembered Ryuka's sad face during the match and said no. He wanted to get better first. He wanted to earn that trust back. Chihaya and the others smiled and started pitching to him. At first, with no batter, Kei was doing okay. Catching balls without pressure wasn't so hard, but the second they added a batter, it became a circus. Todo swung the bat, and the wind alone made Kei flinch. Just the air was enough to shake his soul. He wanted to quit right there, but he didn't. He squatted back down, trying not to cry. Todo told him it was all mental, and Kei tried again. Then boom, he got nailed by the ball and dropped like a potato. Everyone ran over in a panic. Kei sighed like a defeated grandpa. He felt completely useless. He even muttered that maybe Ryuka should just transfer to TKU and find a better catcher. When Chihaya told Ryuka what Kei said, they both burst out laughing. That guilt-filled comment just made Kei look even more pitiful. Later that day, they asked Ryuka if he planned to transfer. He said no way, he could be the best anywhere, but he only wanted to team up with Kei. Kei turned red like a tomato, and the group laughed even harder. Out of nowhere, Ryuka actually showed up to their practice. Kei panicked and told him to go home, that he wanted it to be a surprise. Ryuka said he wanted to see the results of this secret training. Now Kei had no choice but to show off. Under pressure, Kei tried to focus. Ryuka, seeing his nervous jellybean face, toned it down. He accidentally threw a weak hopper. Todo was shocked. Even Ryuka was holding back now, but then it clicked. Baseball caused the drama and baseball fixed it. Everyone relaxed. Todo was just happy the fight didn't last forever. Kei gave credit to Chihaya and the others. He admitted they helped him get through the mess. Even if Kei was a Butterfingers with the memory of a soggy sponge, he had something important. Teammates who didn't give up on him. After failing once, Kei decided to study baseball to get better. Yamata was shocked, but still, he asked Chihaya and Todo for help. They started explaining, but Kei fell asleep almost immediately. It was like me in math class, just couldn't keep his eyes open. Yamata had to step in and suggest a baseball study session. Everyone was thankful for his help, but Kei, now fully awake, decided to head over to Todo's house. Because Todo's sister was a winner in life, and Kei was jealous. Kei felt pretty inferior compared to that, especially thinking about his own mom. Chihaya had to step in and feed Kei some snacks to cheer him up. In the middle of it all, Kei asked what it meant to be a left-handed hitter. Everyone looked at him like he had just asked how to breathe. Chihaya explained the whole left-handed versus right-handed thing, but Kei's memory loss made him look clueless. Left-handed hitters are closer to first base, so they have an advantage when running. Chihaya also mentioned that Kei once tried changing his stance for this advantage. Kei turned to Ryuka, asking if he hoped Kei would go back to his old self. Ryuka just said, "Kei is Kei." This made Todo and Chihaya roll their eyes. Kei decided to adjust to baseball at his own pace and then beat Taiyu High School. He was ready, or so he thought. Out of nowhere, Todo suggested they find a new shortstop. He admitted he could hit, but when it came to defense, he was a liability. Todo had yips, a mental block that made it impossible for him to throw to first base. He shared a story about how, when he first experienced it, he saw a player on TV struggling with the same thing. 2 years ago, Todo was the star player. Scouts attended his games, and the future of the team depended on him. He was playing at the top level, but when he met Kei, things changed. Kei, full of confidence, struck him out, and Todo couldn't even see the pitch clearly. Instead of being upset, he admired Ryuka, but that moment shattered his confidence. Todo realized he wasn't the top-tier talent he thought he was. To make it worse, he felt pressure to perform because sophomores like Kei weren't showing any excitement about scoring runs. During a critical inning, Todo made a mistake, costing his team the game. When he apologized, the seniors forgave him, but he couldn't forgive himself. The seniors didn't get scouted, but Todo did. He was praised, but that praise didn't feel like a win. Todo believed he had failed his team and had made them lose their chance to move forward. From then on, he struggled with his throws to first base, and his yips became a serious problem. One senior tried to comfort him, but Todo ignored him. He threw his glove away, thinking it was useless. His sisters found it later, realizing he hadn't given up. He just wasn't ready to face it. The yips kept haunting him. He started dreaming about his mistakes every night, and his inability to sleep made things worse. He trained constantly, trying to escape his failure. He also stayed away from smoking, thinking it would affect his performance. Yet, no matter how hard he tried to fight, it never helped him forget his pain. Eventually, Todo found himself in fights with gangsters. At first, he thought it would help him escape, but when he thought about the ramen he hadn't eaten, he snapped. He beat the gangsters senseless, but fighting didn't help. It didn't ease the mental block he couldn't escape. Todo started thinking that transferring to a high school where no one knew him would let him forget everything. But when he stepped on the baseball field and saw the duo that had beaten him, he couldn't resist. Kei had asked him to play baseball together. It was something he couldn't refuse. Despite the mental block, baseball was still calling him. Yips is a nasty condition in sports. It's like having an unexpected brain freeze right in the middle of a game. Things that used to be easy now feel impossible. For some athletes, this mental block is the end. It can be impossible to overcome once it strikes. Chihaya noticed something was off with Todo, but didn't fully understand the gravity of his yips. Kei, of course, didn't know either. Yamata had to explain it to him. Kei had once had a mild case of yips when he was hit in the mask with a baseball. Afterward, he couldn't catch for a while. but he eventually got over it. But yips can come back at any time, and it could be devastating for Kei if he didn't catch those pitches soon. Todo wasn't the only one struggling. Kei had his own mental barriers to break down. Everyone in the team was pushing him to get better, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't just about baseball anymore. It was about overcoming their personal hurdles. The game wasn't won by the team's skill alone, but by their ability to support each other and face their fears. Kei started practicing harder, but it wasn't just for baseball anymore. It was for his teammates. And when the day finally came to prove himself, he wasn't going to back down. Kei, always the naive one, didn't quite get the seriousness of Todo's yips. While the others were tense about it, Kei was clueless and joking around. He thought Todo was just bragging about being a yips veteran, like he was some kind of expert. Todo, of course, wasn't having it and wanted to end the discussion. But Kei didn't take the hint. Instead, he mocked Todo's yips experience, thinking Todo was just boasting about being a pro at failing. It was embarrassing to watch. Chihaya, who was used to Kei's weirdness, thought he was being a little Todo abstract for his own good, but she let it slide. The whole conversation was a bit much for Todo's sisters, who found the whole situation amusing. They probably laughed more at Kei than anything else, which, to be fair, wasn't hard to do. The next day, Todo reluctantly agreed to train again, but he wasn't optimistic. Kei, the genius or not, suggested they just keep training, and everything would fix itself. Because of course, that always works. Todo told him it wasn't that simple, but Kei was busy thinking his training brilliance could solve everything. Chihaya then stepped in to help Todo, but it wasn't easy. Whenever Todo missed a ball, it felt like his whole vision was going wonky. He had practiced non-stop, even when the coaches and seniors told him to stop overtraining, but nothing worked. Just when things seemed hopeless, Ryuka, the resident baseball god, spoke up. Apparently, nothing is impossible unless you haven't trained enough. Sure, Ryuka, tell that to someone who's been mentally broken for weeks. Ryuka wasn't wrong though. His insane discipline and top-tier talent made him sound like he was made in a lab to be a baseball machine. His volume of training was like a horror movie. Kei tried to step in, telling Ryuka not to dismiss other people's efforts. But honestly, he sounded more like a kid who wanted a cookie. Then, Chihaya reminded everyone that pitching wasn't easy. She brought up her own struggle with arm strength and how she once bounced a pitch into the dirt. Not exactly the stuff of legends, but hey, it was something. Todo, desperate to fix his problem, agreed to try Chihaya's amateurish suggestion. He was willing to try anything at this point, even if it sounded ridiculous. Kei, on the other hand, was like a motivational speaker in a bad movie, insisting that with enough effort, anything was possible. The seniors from the baseball club even showed up to help, and they all believed in Todo and his friends. If they were having trouble catching the ball, well, that was their issue to fix. The pressure was on Todo now. Kei started to have second thoughts about letting the seniors help, thinking they might blame themselves if things went wrong, but Chihaya stopped him. She knew that wasn't the right way to handle it. To do much responsibility on the seniors would just make everything worse. The whole situation was a mess, but at least they were all trying. They might not have known what they were doing, but they were trying. Todo was stuck in his own head, but maybe this new approach could actually help. With Kei's motivational speeches, Chihaya's advice, and Ryuka's relentless dedication, maybe there was hope, or maybe Kei was just making things worse. Either way, they were in this together, even if Kei's brilliance was mostly just a funny joke. So, Yamada's over there, acting like the most serious player in the world, and Chihaya's quietly recording on her phone, while Yamada's trying to be the poster child for stability. Todo's stiff as a board, but slowly starting to relax. Yeah, he's got the tension of a brick wall, but Chihaya's starting to notice his pitches getting more stable. She says his throwing technique could actually work if he keeps practicing. But honestly, with Todo's brain, that's a huge if. She even thinks that if Kei, who apparently forgot everything about baseball, relearned it, he could probably surpass Todo's sorry excuse for a former self. It's a low bar, but it's a bar nonetheless. During training, Yamada's patting Todo on the back, telling him his catch rate's gone up to 40%. Sure, it's still garbage, but it's an improvement from zero. Chihaya pulls out an old video to help Todo, thinking maybe this'll unlock his inner baseball god. Todo's all ready to fix everything, But man, his coach once told him to quit and just focus on batting. But Ryuka? He's not having any of that nonsense. He says Todo is their shortstop, and no one's replacing him. Of course, Todo's determination is now sky high. He swears to never give up again. They start adding running throws into the training, and Chiaya, being faster than a cheetah on espresso, doesn't really hold back when they compete. Todo's pushing himself, and it's not like he's breaking any records, but hey, he's actually moving forward now. Compared to before when he was stuck in a swamp of failure, this is a major upgrade. Just when Todo's starting to think maybe he doesn't suck as much as he thought, he bumps into a senior from his past. The senior recognizes him instantly and starts chatting him up. Apparently, Todo turned down fancy schools for some unknown reason. The senior's all, "That's a waste, bro." And yeah, the coach is crying somewhere, probably drinking away his dreams. But when the senior hears Todo hasn't given up on baseball, he's all smiles, telling Todo everyone was worried about him after he left. This gets Todo all emotional, like some kind of softie. But hey, it's a big deal. He's finally overcoming the mess in his head. And guess what? He starts leading his team in training with the enthusiasm of a kid at a candy store. Yamada's grinning ear to ear as the team starts thriving. But here's the kicker. Todo's searching around for Kei, who's supposed to be helping with training, but instead is busy playing a baseball video game in the corner. Todo calls him a little rascal, noting they still need a center outfielder. At dinner, Todo tries explaining positions to Kei, but his drawings are so bad, even a toddler would laugh. Chiaya, being the actual talented one, steps in and explains things properly. She tells Kei the field is fan-shaped, and the catcher's in a defensive position. She also drops the bomb that Kei's performance could literally change the entire game. But, surprise, they still need a center outfielder, so Kei's basically still useless. Then, like a bad comedy sketch, Kei tries to act all tough and says he'll work hard to get better. 3 seconds later, he's on the ground crying like a baby after being hit by a ball. Kei's acting like it's the worst thing to happen since the invention of homework, whining about how it hurts Todo much. But Chiaya's not having it. She tells him to stop being a wimp. Kei's clearly not cut out for baseball, but at least he keeps trying. After all his whining, he's still running off to the rooftop to clear his mind. While he's busy taking artsy photos for Twitter, he notices some random kid nearby, who's just as much of a nobody as Kei. The kid's also playing a baseball video game. Real-world baseball is Todo bright. Kei, ever the baseball enthusiast, drags the kid to the baseball club, claiming he's found their new center outfielder. The kid's nervous, trying to run away like he's in a bad horror movie. Chiaya, all fired up now, starts chasing him. But let's face it, this kid's faster than Kei, who's basically moving like a brick on roller skates. So, the kid collapses after a few seconds, and Chiaya's thinking this kid might actually have some potential, but, he's Todo scared to admit it. Meanwhile, the gang's arguing about batting order when the kid sneaks away. Typical. The gang's on a full-blown manhunt for this kid, and after questioning a few freshmen, they find out they've passed him like 12 times. Ryuka almost catches him, but of course, the kid's just Todo fast for anyone. Kei's once again forced to go back to training, but the second the kid spots him, he runs off again. Now, back on the rooftop, the kid's basically saying, "Nope, don't care about real baseball." This is all Todo much. Kei's got a solution though. They'll settle this with a baseball video game. If the kid wins, Kei backs off. But shocker, the kid dominates Kei in the game, and, in the most polite way possible, tells Kei he's just not interested in playing real baseball. But does that stop Kei? Of course not. He drags the kid to the club anyway, blabbering on about how nice everyone is. The kid's skeptical but ends up sticking around, watching Ryuka and Kei pitch and catch like they're the baseball gods. The kid's impressed, but not enough to give up his precious video games. Eventually, after some more nonsense, Todo steps up and tells the kid baseball needs fitness, but Chiaya throws in a curveball saying fitness doesn't happen overnight. Kei's all about the grind though, and encourages the kid to start by catching. So after some awkward moments, the kid catches the ball, feeling like $1,000,000. He's into it now, finally agreeing to join the club. Todo and Chiaya, all pumped up by the progress, join in and share their own stories of returning to baseball after running away. Yeah, it's a redemption story for everyone. And just like that, the team has a new member. The kid's name is Kazuki, and he's ready to give real-world baseball a shot. maybe Todo's not the only one who can turn things around. Before his memory loss, Kei was the kind of guy who acted like he was born to dominate. He told Ryuka that his plan was simple: crush every player, break their spirits, and come out victorious every single time. He didn't care about the resentment or grudges from others. Kei was all about winning, and winning alone. He said he didn't even need to worry about anything else. Just keep winning, and everything would fall into place. It's kind of hilarious when you think about it now, considering how clumsy he is after losing his memory. He's gone from master strategist to the kind of guy who trips over his own shoelaces. Still, Kazuki, ever the curious one, wonders what Kei would be like if he ever got his memory back. Kei, in his usual overconfident way, claims that when he regains his memory, he'll be a smart, handsome, and popular catcher. Of course, everyone starts poking fun at him because, right now, he looks more like a lost puppy than a baseball prodigy. Even Ryuka, the resident genius and show-off, can't help but shake his head at the new Kei, while Todo and Chihaya are practically giggling behind his back. They start brainstorming ridiculous ways to help Kei remember who he really is. Todo throws a punch at Kei's head, but it does absolutely nothing. So Chihaya, the ever-creative genius, tries music therapy. Nope, that doesn't work either. In fact, it just seems to make things worse, and Kei ends up buying a CD of his favorite music. Everyone agrees that if these methods fail, they'll throw in the towel. But then Kazuki, with his head full of fantastical ideas, suggests they try hypnosis. Naturally, everyone thinks he's joking, but they all end up at a hypnotist anyway. Yamada, still confused by life, is amazed that such a place even exists. The hypnotist tells Kei to focus on a swinging coin, but the best part? Kei falls asleep. Yup, he just passes out, and everyone's left dying of laughter. In the end, Ryuka, ever the responsible one, drags Kei back to training, explaining that Kei's just been exhausted from all the crazy routines they've been doing. Kei wasn't hypnotized, he just didn't have the energy to keep his eyes open anymore. This is when they all realize that, even with amnesia, Kei's still a tactical genius. Ryuka reassures everyone that Kei is still Kei, no matter how weird he acts now. The next day, Kei's acting oddly normal for a guy who just lost his memory. He's up early, helping his mom with breakfast, and even thanking her for the meal like some kind of sweet child. Could it be? Is Kei's memory starting to come back? Kei checks his phone, notes that Ryuka hasn't seen his message yet, and makes a snarky comment about how irresponsible Ryuka is. His mom wonders if Kei's rebellious phase is finally over. Spoiler alert, it's not. Meanwhile, on the training field, Chihaya and Todo are shocked when they see Kei walking up. At first, they think they're hallucinating from exhaustion. But nope, it's really him. Ryuka's walking with him, Todo acting all casual and relaxed. Kei, now feeling a little Todo confident for his own good, asks Ryuka when he started speaking like that. Todo and Chihaya immediately sense something's off and rush to talk to him. Kei brushes off Todo's hand like he's got better things to do and starts talking about his old middle school days and his position. Then he starts talking about how Yamada and Chihaya were worthy opponents, which is a nice little compliment, but also super weird coming from someone who can't even remember his own name half the time. At this point, Ryuka asks if Kei's regained his memory. Kei just casually says that he woke up feeling different that morning, but he doesn't really dive into it. He talks about how baseball is his top priority and how with their lineup, himself, Ryuka, Chihaya, Todo, and Yamada, they have a real shot at challenging for the national title. Yamada, ever the emotional softie, is practically in tears because Kei remembered him. But then, Kei starts checking out Ryuka's shoulder, noticing it's stiff. He tells Ryuka to take a break from pitching for a while and sends him off to work on his basic fitness. And guess what? Ryuka actually listens. Kei, the once arrogant tactician, has somehow turned into a guy who can tell Ryuka what to do and actually get him to obey. Todo and Chihaya are standing there, completely dumbfounded, watching the once unshakable Ryuka turn into an obedient little puppy. Is this the legendary tactician Kei they've all heard about? The guy who could control the team with just a word? Apparently, yeah. Kei tells the second-year seniors that they need to focus on training, but reassures them that they're all in this together. Kazuki, who's been hanging around like a weird fanboy, is totally impressed by Kei's leadership skills. He starts talking about how perfect Kei's character design is, but that's a whole other conversation. And just like that, Kei's taken his place as the mastermind of the team again. He's not just the clumsy, forgetful guy anymore. He's the tactician, the guy who's in charge. Even though the rest of the team is still recovering from his bizarre transformation, Kei's return to the field was as unexpected as a wet sock in your shoe, and boy, did it shake things up. Before his memory came back, Kei was the kind of guy who was cold and calculated, practically a walking baseball mastermind. He had his sights set on dominating every player, breaking their spirits one loss at a time. But now, after the memory loss, he looked more like a walking disaster. Seriously, he couldn't even keep his shoelaces tied without help. But for some reason, people still followed him. Kazuki was one of them. Under the leadership of the amnesiac Kei, the whole team got an energy boost. They actually started looking like a baseball team instead of a bunch of people just trying to avoid sunburn. The most impressive thing about this tactician was that he somehow convinced everyone to actually believe in him again. During one break, a girl wandered by the field, casually remarking about this incredibly handsome guy playing baseball. Kei, being his usual charming self, asked her if she had fallen for him. The girl ran off quicker than you can say awkward, and Kei just shrugged, clearly too busy with baseball to care about flirting. Chihaya, watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but laugh. Kei had always avoided relationships like they were the plague, so this awkward show of charm was just another notch on his incompetent but somehow lovable belt. Back in the locker room, Kei suggested organizing a scrimmage. His memories might have been fuzzy, but his ability to remember a few past games was still top-notch. He even recalled playing against a team called TKU High School. It was an old grudge match, but Kei wasn't feeling too hopeful about it. He suggested the team go to the field after school to practice. Spoiler, Kei wasn't exactly an expert at batting. His timing was off, and when he finally managed to hit a home run, he tried to downplay it like it was no big deal. Chihaya and Todo had high hopes for the day, but Ryuka wasn't having any of it. The guy was so focused on showing off that his hand was trembling like a leaf in the wind. The next day, Kei announced he'd lined up a match with a powerhouse team, Ice River High School. This was a big deal. Ice River wasn't just a random team. They were second only to Taiyu High School. Chihaya, upon hearing the name, got a bit nostalgic, maybe even a little uneasy. But Kei, being Kei, was already a step ahead. He called up Ryuka and the two of them went to practice. Everyone could tell the old Kei was coming back, and for a moment, the team was actually starting to believe they might pull off something big. When they arrived at Ice River High School, they quickly realized they were facing a tough opponent. The school had just finished their spring tournament, so they were likely resting. But even their second-string players were a force to be reckoned with. Still, Kei wasn't intimidated. He acted like this was just another day in paradise. Todo and Chihaya noticed something weird though. Makita, a guy from Ice River, immediately recognized Kei and Ryuka. He clearly thought they were wasting their potential by playing at a lesser school. Kei, ever the prankster, pretended not to remember Makita's name. Makita kept chatting with Chihaya, mocking his choice to play at a lesser school. Chihaya, as always, kept calm, which only seemed to annoy Todo. Why was Chihaya so nice to this guy when he was usually such a jerk? But whatever, this wasn't the time for drama. The match began, and immediately it became clear that Kei was still a strategic genius, even with his memory loss. When it was his turn to bat, he read the pitcher like an open book. Kei hit the ball with ease, making it to second base without breaking a sweat. Kazuki and Yamada were blown away, but Kei's performance came at a price. He was clearly not feeling great. His gestures were off, and it wasn't long before his condition became apparent. Still, he kept pushing through. Then, it was Ryuka's turn. The guy was acting strangely. He didn't even try to hit the first pitch and looked like he was in his own little world. Everyone was worried, but Kei, being the so-called tactician, called a timeout and encouraged Ryuka. For a second, it looked like they might just pull this off, but things quickly spiraled. Makita, now clearly irritated by Kei's confidence, threw fastballs at him. Kei didn't even swing at the first one. He was just watching it like a spectator at a tennis match. Then the unthinkable happened. Kei got called out. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who had been playing like a superstar, the so-called tactician, got out on a simple pitch. Everyone was stunned. But the best part? Kei didn't care. He reverted back to his clueless amnesiac self, opened a snack, and lay down like it was nap time. The contrast between his strategic genius and his complete lack of awareness was truly something to behold. As the game went on, Ryuka hit a few fastballs, and the team managed to score. But when it was Chihaya's turn, Makita mocked him. He called baseball a sport of strength and laughed at Chihaya's playing style. Chihaya, as usual, stayed calm. "All right, here we go, buckle up." We're diving into the chaotic world of baseball, where every player has their own impossible challenge to overcome. For Chihaya, that wall is something he just can't seem to get past. No matter how hard he tries, it feels like that wall stays solid, waiting for him. And guess what? The coach isn't exactly giving him the answers either. Some walls are just meant to be hit over and over again, and for Chihaya, that wall has always been his size. So, Kei's memory has been fully restored. He's back on the field, looking a little Todo fresh-faced for someone who doesn't remember anything. Meanwhile, Ryuka is having a mental breakdown. You'd think that he'd be over this by now, but no, apparently he can't even hit a baseball. Ryuka's frustration is so obvious that even Yamada, with all his chill, can tell that the guy is losing it. Ryuka's first swing? Yeah, it's an easy hit for the other team. No one is surprised. But it's not over. No, not by a long shot. Kei, our strategically gifted amnesiac, decides to jump in, not knowing exactly what's going on, but still willing to play along. He's out here talking about bad luck, as if this is some weird twist of fate. Ryuka doesn't even listen when Kei tries to motivate him. Instead, he sulks in the corner like a kid who just got their ice cream taken away. Kazuki wants to say something, but let's be real. It's not like his words are going to matter much when Ryuka is in a mood that could cut glass. Enter Kei, who still has no memory, but suddenly drops some pearls of wisdom. He says Ryuka needs to stop being a grumpy mess and take responsibility for the mood of the team. You'd think that advice would have come from a coach, but no, it's coming from Amnesiac Kei, and somehow it actually makes sense. Ryuka finally calms down, and you can almost hear the team collectively exhale. It's funny how even a clueless guy like Kei can somehow fix the vibe when everything feels like it's going downhill. The team is still losing, but at least the atmosphere is a little lighter. Maybe there's hope. As the game goes on, Chihaya's walls come into focus. Now, Chihaya isn't exactly the tallest guy on the field. In fact, he's what some might call vertically challenged for a baseball player. His real issue, though, isn't his height. It's how he feels about it. He's been trying to bulk up, eating until he nearly passes out, but the weight just won't stick. How frustrating is that? Imagine putting in all this effort, and your body just won't cooperate. While everyone else seems to be eating a burger and gaining muscle, Chihaya is out here watching his stomach growl in vain. Makita, the guy with the physique of a Greek god, throws it in Chihaya's face. He's got the height, the strength, and, let's be real, he's definitely a little cocky about it. Chihaya, on the other hand, is feeling the weight of his own limitations. He knows he's faster than most players, but it's like trying to win a race with a scooter when everyone else is driving Ferraris. It's not fair, and it messes with his head. Chihaya has a mental breakdown, like every athlete does at some point. He wants to quit. Baseball's been his whole life, but maybe it's time to give it up. It's a lot easier said than done, especially when the sport is literally in your blood. Makita mocks him, and Chihaya can't even fight back. He's Todo busy wrestling with his own self-doubt. At this point, Chihaya's convinced that he'll never be good enough. He's tired of hearing the voice in his head that keeps pushing him to try harder. He's exhausted from never seeing results. It's like a treadmill that never stops. What's the point of all the effort if it's not working? But here's the kicker. Chihaya doesn't quit. He goes back to the field with Kei, who, remember, is still suffering from memory loss, but somehow finds a way to give Chihaya just the right push. It's like having a clueless coach who accidentally knows exactly what you need. Kei tells Chihaya to keep going, to break through his wall. It's a simple phrase, but it's enough to make Chihaya swing his bat with everything he's got. Kei may not have his memory, but for a moment, he seems like the one person who truly understands. Now back to Makita. The guy's throwing heat like it's nothing, but guess what? Chihaya's not backing down. He's ready to take on that wall. Makita may have the body, the skills, and the attitude, but Chihaya's got something else. Heart. The guy's been training in the shadows, using tricks to make up for his lack of natural talent. And those tricks? Well, they've earned him respect, even if it's the kind of respect you don't always get when you're not the tallest guy in the room. The match continues, and Chihaya's realizing something huge. Baseball isn't just about strength, it's about trust. He's been trying to do everything on his own, but this time it's different. He's not playing for himself, he's playing for the team. And when he pitches that final 4 balls, it's not just a move to get to the next inning. It's a statement. He's trusting his teammates. For Chihaya, this is the moment that breaks the wall. Trusting others? That's the real challenge. But it's the one that matters the most. Kei, still oblivious to his own genius, watches as Chihaya hands over the bat to him. It's the first time Kei has been trusted, and let's just say, he doesn't even know what to do with it. Alright, here we go. Kei's standing there, clutching that bat like it's the last thing between him and disaster. But Chihaya, the guy who's all about weirdly positive pep talks, is grinning like a maniac. Go for it, he says. Makita's throwing fast pitches, but his control is as bad as a toddler on a sugar high. First pitch? Wild. Kei's already thinking that maybe, just maybe, he can wait for a walk instead of swinging, and Chihaya warns Kei that if he doesn't swing, he might just strike out. Meanwhile, Todo from the sidelines is getting a kick out of the whole thing, mocking Chihaya. Yamada's standing there, watching the train wreck unfold, and he's not exactly feeling hopeful. But wait. Ryuka, ever the voice of reason, shouts out to Kei, "Remember your training!" And boom, it hits Kei. That's right, Ryuka's pitches were fast, Todo. So he channels that energy and swings like it's just another day at the park. He takes off, running faster than you'd expect from a guy who probably eats like a bird. It's pure chaos, but in the best way possible. Ryuka, in true fashion, hits a home run after Makita falls apart. Just like that, they're in it. They've turned the game around. After all that, Kei's school finally gets their first win. Kei's grinning like a Cheshire cat, but don't let that fool you. He's still in shock, like he's trying to process what just happened. The team's all excited, but Yamada's still thinking about the big picture. He knows that Kei's hit was the game changer. That was the moment. But before Kei can even start doing his victory lap, the team decides to tie him up. Why? Because apparently, at this school, when you're on top, you get bound like a turkey at Thanksgiving. Makita's standing there, all confused. Makita's dumbfounded, but he takes the loss in stride. He admits he messed up, but promises next time, he'll win. Meanwhile, Ryuka, being Ryuka, doesn't even remember Makita's name. He's Todo busy teasing him. When the game ends, everyone's in celebration mode. Chihaya's smiling. And guess what? For once, it's not because he's planning some convoluted scheme to win. He's actually enjoying the moment. Kei, though, can't stop thinking about the game. He's so pumped, he can't even sleep, but the minute his head hits the pillow, his memories come flooding back, like a floodgate opening. He remembers his old self, the strategic genius, the mastermind. Yeah, the old Kei. He used to be the guy who could read players like a book, the guy who'd tell Ryuka exactly what to do and how to do it. That was the Kei who could outsmart anyone, and oh, how he loved doing it. But then reality sets in. The guy who had everything under control? Gone. Instead, you've got this new, amnesiac Kei who can't even handle a simple pitch without shaking in his boots. He knew how to manipulate emotions, and that Kei? He had zero patience for anyone who wasn't pulling their weight. He's remembering his old habits, the perfectionist tendencies, the way he tried to control everything, even if it meant sacrificing his happiness. This new Kei is different. He's more relaxed. Still, something doesn't sit right with him. Ryuka, ever the concerned friend, notices the change and asks if Kei hates baseball. After all, back in middle school, Kei was all about the strategic side. But that Kei had nothing to do with baseball at the time. Kei says he doesn't hate it. In fact, he loves it. He admits that winning, even once, felt amazing. And you know what? That's something the old Kei would never admit. But now, Kei wants to do better. He wants to be better than the old version of himself. Maybe he wasn't perfect before, but he's sure as hell going to try to get there. He's ready to put in the work, even if it means embracing everything that made him miserable before. Kei doesn't want to be the guy who gave up on baseball. He wants to fight through it, step by step. For once, K's not just chasing perfection, he's chasing the joy of playing. And as he pitches, you can see it. K's found a way to balance the old and new versions of himself. Maybe the wall he's been fighting isn't just physical or strategic. Maybe it's emotional, Toto. But here's the thing. This time, he's not fighting it alone. And that's a game changer. The next morning, K wakes up and realizes something big. He doesn't have to be the old K anymore. Baseball doesn't need to be about control. It can be about fun, Toto. The joy of playing, of winning, and of sharing it all with teammates. For the first time in ages, K finally feels like he's on the right path.